Welcome back to another episode of a podcast written by a software engineer. I'm your host, Perry, and I've got the absolute pleasure to have William Swannell with me. How are you, Will?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you, Perry?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Happy Friday. Cheers to you.
Yeah, cheers.
And really, just honestly, thank you for being on the show because I know you have such a busy schedule.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Oh, that's great. And so for the people who don't know, I work at Heartspace, and Will is the co-founder and CEO of Heartspace, so absolute honor to be able to chat to you. But
I mean, you do sit opposite me at
yeah.
work. we do chat.
I know, yeah, this is like one extra hour of any other day anyway.
More the merrier.
Yeah, exactly. But the great thing is that you weren't always a founder and CEO of something. So I think for today, I think people would be slightly interested in to know how you got to that point. Did you decide to even get to that point? And then we could just see how that goes. So I guess like for the people who don't know Will, do you want to just give us a brief description of who you are and I guess what you do?
But that's quite a broad question, but you know, good place to start.
Yeah. Or we even started like I guess during high school. From high school, what was your background, and then?
I've sort of spent always lived in London. Grew up in Balham on the Northern Line in South London. Spent my teenage years living in Pimlico, so more central, and then live up in North London now. I had a sort of slightly patchwork career doing a few different things before starting Heartspace, which is now 7 years ago. I know it's a long time. It's a long time. Since then been working hard building the business.
That's so good because so for the people who don't know, I moved to London thanks to Will mostly. I remember we even started talking without me being into the country to begin with. So I guess the story kind of went like I reached out to you, and then I think maybe like a week later you just came back and you were like, I really like your website. I was like, whoa, like just the emphatic attitude that really just caught me in, and then we just kind of spoke from there. And then next thing you know, the crucial words you told me were, do you want to move to London? And I was like, yeah, man, why not at that point? So it kind of really snowballed from that point. So, but even just like, you know, as you're saying, sitting next to you over the years, I definitely got to know you much better, and I'm so happy that we get to like talk about how that goes. So I guess like when we were talking about like just study wise, what was your background in?
I studied theoretical physics at university. So not that related to the events industry. It's not the most well trodden path. It was good fun. I mean, to tell the complete truth, I chose it. In fact, at uni, I transferred courses in the first 6 months. So I realised if you did theoretical physics and not physics, then you could skip lectures, which were at 9 o'clock in the morning, 3 days a week. And you know, being in what's inevitably a dark room, taking measurement after measurement on some optic thing didn't really appeal to me. So I switched to that, and it was great fun. Studied in London, so I got to kind of live London as a student. Yeah,
which uni was this at actually?
This was at Imperial.
At Imperial, that's pretty cool because I do have I do know people who go there. I guess nowadays, which is maybe a couple of years later. But the mindset of being able to...
A couple of years.
Just a handful of years. Two. But even just the mindset of nowadays, like just adjusting your course and be like, maybe I could skip these kind of classes. You didn't have any like recordings back then, did you? As in like nowadays, when I went to uni, maybe like 3 years ago, everything was recorded. So I'd be sitting at home, you could just play all of it.
No, we didn't have recordings, but we had one of my really good friends, Hannah, she took the best notes in the world ever.
Oh, she was known for it.
She took the best notes. They were so good. Even for the lectures that I went to, and I'd try and take like amazing notes. Hers was just better. So she was kind of the equivalent of watching the lecture afterwards.
Yeah, so
just borrow the notes, and it would be like you were there.
Oh, that's so good. So in terms of like the system-wise kind of thing, so you just gotta rely on her having like the notes ready, and then
I'd have without a doubt completely failed my undergrad without her.
Oh man, shout out to Hannah. I've never met her, but shout out to her at that point. And then, so how did that lifestyle kind of work? Like, so you would just, I guess, go to class. Did you do anything like on the side, like in terms of clubs or anything, or?
I was played football for Imperial.
Oh. Of course, you're like one of the biggest football fan I know. How could I?
Yes, I played football for Imperial. I was a key member of the Imperial 7th 11. So not the highest level of football, but it's like still football nonetheless.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So in terms of like just fan base at that point, did you have like a massive fan club then? Back then, or was it just casual? Or?
Well, there were 7 teams playing for Imperial, and the 7ths were obviously the worst. Yeah. But it was almost they were also the most fun. So that you'd be kind of like the first and probably last team at the bar. Yeah. The team who probably did the least training.
Well, I mean, like, it's just a relative number anyway. But if there was going to be an 8 team, somebody else is going to be the 8, you know?
I wasn't very good, and the 7ths weren't very good, but had loads of fun. Yeah,
but I think that's still important, though. Even if you're not good at something, you still manage to do it. Like, I played loads of lacrosse during uni and during high school at that point. I wasn't good at it, but it's just being out there and participating and everything, so... Do you think that should be essential for, like, a curriculum? Because I do know some uni, for example... in your actual course load, they kind of force you to have like a gym class at uni. I know some uni does it. Do you think that's like relevant, or it's just completely?
No, I think it's really important. I mean, I don't see how it's any different to when you're at school and you need to do some sort of sport there. Like it's so important later in life. Like if you're trying to do something and sort of stay balanced, like having regular exercise just built in makes such a difference.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, like if you're like I know there's I know there's some people who really don't enjoy sport and have like bad experiences at school. I don't know if I'm going to force it, but I mean, staying active is great.
That's the thing. The only reason I mention is that you, on top of being so busy with obviously looking over higher space and doing all your usual responsibilities, but you fit in so much physical activity in between. So you do boxing, you run, you go to as many boot camp classes as you can, and actually you also have a charity boxing coming up. So that's amazing. We're definitely gonna dive into that at that point. But I think just even mentioning that, even back then in the mindset of just being a uni student and having this full workload of going to class, but also taking the time to play football on the side and everything, it kind of still reflects what you do today.
Yeah, I was in the cross-country team as well. Again, not the actual cross-country team, like the second cross-country team. I was pretty much the worst person in the club. But yeah, I did that as well. Ran the London Marathon in my last year at uni.
Oh wow! Okay. How did that go? Did you finish it? Were you happy with yourself?
Yeah, I managed to finish it. Didn't stop. Didn't walk. It was pretty good.
Yeah, the fighting spirit was there. I mean, you've always had the fighting spirit anyway, so I had no doubts about that. So yeah, that's pretty cool then. So like that was at Imperial College. You did loads of theoretical physics. So I'm guessing that you graduated with the theoretical physics and you didn't switch a second time in between that span of degree, did you?
No, just finished the physics degree and then went and studied finance afterwards because. I think like at the time it was like the sort of like the tech scene was like it was still very kind of early on. I mean we only got Facebook like in the last 2 weeks of uni, which shows how old I am.
Whoa! You told me you went through uni without Facebook.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like if you were good at numbers, you went into the city and did finance. It was just like the path that was there. So I went and studied a master's in finance.
So that's actually really, I mean, even starting to this point, it gets even more interesting because your background is all theoretical physics, and then you got into finance. When we're talking about transferable skills, in terms of what were the requirements when they asked you to, I guess, when you tried to apply for it, did they require a specific, I guess, class or anything, or was it just more general knowledge? And then
it was a course that took people from different disciplines. Like no one had a finance background. Okay. So people from studied maths or physics or economics, but generally fairly kind of numbery courses. It was actually like a really weird application process. There wasn't even any interview or anything. Just kind of sent off a form, sent off your grades, and God knows how I got in. But
okay. That's really interesting because I do feel like there might be some people in that position nowadays where they just finished uni and they're kind of deciding if they want to keep on doing a master's or they just want to, I guess, as you're saying, if you're good at numbers, go straight into the city and do that.
Yeah.
So I guess from their point of view, should they try it, I guess, or should they see if they get accepted or?
I mean, like doing another year as a student was really, really fun. And yeah, it was kind of like the sort of like pre-ridiculous tuition fees.
Yeah,
so I think like the entire masters was like $1,000.
Wait. So ridiculous in terms of like ridiculously cheap.
Ridiculously cheap. Well, yeah, I mean, like you can pay many times that for masters now.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I thought my whole like impression of getting a master's nowadays is that you're still paying over what like 10 grand pounds a year or something, and then when you tell me it's less than $1,000 to do it, I'm quite shocked. I mean, knowing the UK, maybe it's like a little bit different, but
I'm just so old that the stuff is a bit different then.
All right, we're gonna stop diving into that topic at that point. Oh yeah, sorry, where was this at, by the way?
That was the Judge Business School at Cambridge.
Okay, so it was one of the department at Cambridge at that point.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's an ignorant question, but does Cambridge have every single department? Do they have like health department, finance, business school, and then I guess education department? Do they have like, because when I went to McGill, for example, they had every department: engineering, education.
Yeah. There's all sorts. I guess the stuff that it's really good at.
Okay.
I think kind of like natural sciences and maths and stuff. It's like really good at. But I mean, that is everyone, which makes it kind of like interesting to be at, like all sorts of people.
Well, I mean, yeah, because everybody hears about it, and in terms of actually being there, I think from an outsider's point of view, like a lot of us share it. But I guess from your insider point of view, what was the thing that was the most, I guess, in your first week, the most shocking, but also the most like, oh, well, it's just like everything else at the end?
I think about my first week.
Because I think like from my point of view is that like Cambridge has always been very like prestigious and looked up to. You know what I mean? In terms of like, even just like when you were saying the admission process was quite straightforward. I was like,
Well, no, so, I mean, it was straightforward that time. I mean, like going as undergraduate, I tried to get in and I failed. So obviously not that straightforward. I think when like a lot of people go. I mean, it's because like all the buildings are so old. It's just quite, you're kind of going back in time, and it's a bit kind of weird and intimidating.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, like I was like fortunate enough that like my school was a little bit like that, so I didn't find that bit so weird. I guess, I mean, yeah, like a lot of the kind of weird traditions. The secret drinking societies. They were something I hadn't really expected.
Okay, so was that unique to just Cambridge, I guess, and then it was
I think there are a lot of other universities as well, but it wasn't something that we had at Imperial.
Okay, so I guess it's more like realistic life skills that you meet there, because I mean, like, no, you definitely have a lot of like secret drinking society, anyways, out here. So, and did you manage to also keep up with the football during then?
I did, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I did, yeah. We won the graduate League Cup.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I didn't even study here, so I have no idea how the system works or everything. But congratulations!
It's like the equivalent of winning the League Cup. It was like the kind of like the second tier trophy and not the league.
Yeah, and in terms of like just making connections, I guess, was it just mates that you knew before forming the team, or was it just you signed up?
It was just like people in your college. And like because it was a graduate team and there's not many graduates in each college, like we kind of struggled to get an 11 together, which is how I managed to actually get on the field. It was really that was really good fun as well.
Yeah, because it does make sense that like, because I know like you have Harvards and all these like Ivy League schools, they put so much pride in their rowing teams and they put so much pride in their like other sports.
I mean, this was not that. This was like very, very low level.
Okay.
But it was, it was great.
But if we talk about the first team then and everything, do they put that much importance? Does everybody know that like this team is going to play this weekend and everybody shows up, or was it just not as
it's not really like college sports in like in North America.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're on a team like that, that's kind of cool, but it's not quite the same. I guess you get maybe a couple of big matches each year, but
okay. Like rivalry, I
Well, yeah,
guess.
so like Oxford and Cambridge will play each other like in a varsity match or something. But like aside from that, it's not the same as college sports.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Because I mean, like, I rarely talk about this to begin with in terms of like how does sport work in the UK. But I mean, there's also loads of different clubs that you get quite competitive with. You get the chance to do like, I guess, one of the things that we had was like debate clubs between uni. I guess was that still like a trend in the UK when you went to uni?
Looking back, I kind of wish that I'd done something like that, something like a bit more cerebral. But
I mean, you turned out fine.
It's debatable. But no, never joined in with that. Although, yeah, I kind of wish that I had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the one to talk. I haven't really done any of the. Well, I mostly played sports most of the time, so I didn't really join the social clubs. I think as they call it, kind of thing. But I guess like I do see the appeal because a lot of people really get loads of like good skills out of it. Some of them will have like a public speaking club kind of thing.
I really wish I'd done it, but no, I spent more time just being just like young and stupid and just like having fun.
Young and stupid, living well free. But also like I think even just today's scenario kind of thing, you do get a lot of opportunities to have like public speaking and even just talking to like an audience kind of thing. So instead of having this specific way of doing it of these clubs, you just manage to like practice and
I guess I did it 4 or 5 times a day in front of a class of kids for 2 years.
Yeah, that's true, because you were a teacher at some point. Oh, let's have you dive into that. So you had this whole thing at Cambridge for a while, and then you graduated with your degree in finance. What then? You have a master's degree in finance, and then.
So then, obviously, you go into the city and you do finance, and I think there were maybe 42 people on the course, and 41 of them did exactly that.
But was that one guy who did?
But there was one guy who didn't. It was me. So I'd gone to a career fair, and basically some guy just literally grabbed me, who like from a program called Teach First, where they like take graduates and like put them put them kind of straight into schools and kind of throw them in at the deep end. And I chatted to him for a bit, and like I thought, I guess like it's not something I really thought about before, but he was quite engaging, and it just seemed, I was like, fine, okay, I'm going to apply, go for the interview. And then went for the interview, and everyone was just really nice. Like everyone was just like actually like a really nice person, and just the sort of person you want to hang out with. Because if you're a graduate and you want to become a teacher, like you're not going to be you're not going to be a dick. You know what I mean? Like it's like a reasonably sort of it's like reasonably kind of socially minded thing to do, and you've got to enjoy like helping people. And I found that, like, compared to the sort of the more kind of like cutthroat city jobs that I was applying to, just like when you went to the interview days and the assessment centres and all of that, like everyone was just really lovely.
Yeah, you described. Yeah, exactly.
And so I thought, like, actually, I'm gonna apply to do this.
And then that's actually a really good way to look at it, because like even when you mentioned like out of the 42 people, you had one person, which is you, that ended up just really having a step back and just looking at the big picture of what's happening at the moment. And I feel like a lot of times, like, a lot of people go through the same thing. So when I graduated uni, I was kind of like, what do I do now? And it's a very shared sentiment. And then fortunately, as you got reached out with Teach First, which is still ongoing at the moment. It's still a organization.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge now. It's 10 times the size it was than when I was doing it.
Oh, you're one of the OGs back then. That's what it was. So that's really how they really got to see a bit of your background, seeing what you do, and then that's how you got your first job, I guess.
I mean, that was my first job. I was a maths and economics teacher at Paddington Academy.
That's pretty cool. And then, like, even at that moment, did you ever have the thought of like becoming a teacher and then like slowly getting all the way to like becoming a professor at like a uni or something? Or was it just like, I'm going to see how this kind of starts?
I thought I'd just see how it goes. Like I'd never done it. I never really thought about doing it. But I enjoy helping people. I enjoyed the people I was working with, and some of the kids were amazing. And so I did it for 2 years. But yeah, I guess I never had huge ambitions to kind of, like become a kind of professor or head teacher or whatever.
Yeah, which is so relatable because a lot of people when they come out they'll be like, I'll try this first and see how it goes at that point.
Yeah.
Just to put this clear though, kind of thing, you didn't do any education in terms of like getting a certification of being a teacher. So
so they gave you 6 weeks training in the summer.
Okay.
And then that was it. And then you just get
tossed into the deep
like
end.
Thrown in.
Because the only reason why I'm saying this is in comparison, for example, I know in Canada a lot of the degrees is like there are 3 years degrees in uni just for education.
Yeah.
Which
so it's like same here, but then it's like a kind of fast track sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like as Teach First grown up as an organisation, like those 6 weeks I think have become like more intense, and that have improved every year. And they're actually really good when I was doing it. Like you did. I mean, there's only so much you can learn in 6 weeks, but you took on a lot. But also, you throw, I think in my year it was like 200 kind of fresh uni graduates into it happened down in like Canterbury University. So you basically all moved down there for 6 weeks.
Okay, like a boot camp.
Boot camp, and you kind of like you throw 200, 300 graduates together on a university campus, and so like it had a feel of Freshers Week.
Okay, so you just graduate uni, and the first thing you get into is another Freshers Week after that.
Yeah, but like you took a lot on, but equally, you can't really learn anything in 6 weeks.
Yeah,
and then you're just you're thrown in there.
Yeah, what age group were you dealing with when you first started?
Secondary, so 11 till 18. Some kids were a bit older; they were taking slightly longer courses.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's brutal on you because that's the age between they really start thinking. That's the age where they really come to realization.
Well, it also includes the age where they just go absolutely mad for a year or so.
Yeah. Which year? I mean, for any.
Oh, so yeah, it's the girls it would be, I don't know, like 12, 13, 14. For the guys it would be like 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't stop.
They just go mad for a year.
Yeah. What I'm interested in is the actual process. So were you responsible of like getting the programming and everything? Were you responsible of like making sure that you stick to a curriculum, or was a curriculum given to you, or how does that go?
You're given like a scheme of work, so just like an outline of the lessons that you should be teaching.
Okay, is that a government thing, or is it just a
the government like per department? But it didn't always exist for every course. Like some, we had to help put it together. But yeah, you got kind of all the structuring, and you knew all the things you had to teach.
Okay, that's really
cool. They're all in place.
Because from my point of view is that if I was a student at that point, is that like, so you get to choose when I get to learn algebra, for example.
Yeah.
So if you tell us in that like, if I'm 11-year-old, be like, all right, we're doing equations nowadays. Like you could have done that by then.
Yeah, it could have been. Like if you teach kids the wrong stuff, then the whole class just turns into like a complete shit show. If it's something that's too far advanced or too far basic, then basically like everyone gets bored, and like if that happens, then they'll just start like messing about or fighting or like whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean we've all been students, so we gotta know.
Yeah.
Just imagine having Will as a teacher. That'd be a different story at that point. So. And yeah, that's pretty cool. And I guess like between you and the other staff at that point, is it were you working with other people who graduated around the same time as you did, or did you have like a mentor, or did you have somebody older?
We had a couple of people mentor me, like one in the first year, one in the one in the second year. Paul and Linda. And they were great. They like really experienced, knew what they were doing, and they kind of helped me ground in. And there were there were 8 of us that joined as like fresh graduate teachers. The year that I started, two of them quit in the first few weeks.
Oh, no.
They're just like, nope, like, not for me.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, stuck it out.
Yeah, and thank God you did, to be honest, because weirdly, I've gotten the chance to meet some of the students, that you've taught before, and
Yeah, you have, yeah.
every single one of them.
Who have you met? You've met.
The most memorable one, Connor.
You met Connor, yeah.
So I mean, so memorable just because like the impact you've had on these students was definitely there. I definitely see like why they were so impressionable at that point, and
Yeah.
I think that's definitely something that I just want to put out there, is that like even just seeing the people that you had an impact on like years ago is something that you might not get reminded often, but I do see that. The only reason why I say that is because I used to be a day camp counselor, and I wish I could go back and see more of my students, my kids more often. So I guess that's the kind of feeling that I guess it's enjoyable.
Yeah, no, you it's nice when you it's nice when you hear from them. You know, like some of them are doing like really well, and some of them, some of them like you do feel like you kind of really kind of helped. And then like others that you didn't necessarily. So yeah, like one kid I taught who I didn't necessarily see eye to eye with. I was just like on YouTube like a month or so ago, and then I recognized him in the video for Boasty, you know, the like Sean Paul and Idris Elba and like that song. And he's just there, standing there in the video, just like bopping his head. Like,
how did that happen? Is
like William Candy? What are you doing there?
That's so good. Did you ever reach out to him, or was it just another mystery in the book that you'll find out at some point?
He added me on LinkedIn recently, but he was more like my nemesis rather than being one of the
top students.
He had the potential to be, but he was always my nemesis.
Yeah, that's actually so funny, because I mean, like, after that you've moved on from teaching as well, it's still part of your responsibility, I guess, to sort of just be in the know of what they are. As in, like, there's nothing forcing you to be keeping up with whatever they're doing, but it's also good to know that like they're still out there doing stuff, and at any point you could relate to them and be like, oh, I remember like when you did that. So I think just I've never been able to be a teacher, so I guess that's one of the feelings that I don't really get to experience. But
I remember when he got punched in the face in one of my lessons.
Oh my god! What happened at your school?
We were playing a game with where you had like a beanbag like hacky sack sort of thing, and then like you'd kind of throw it to someone and then they'd have to like answer a maths question. It was a way to like recap the learning at the end. That's
a good way to teach stuff.
And instead of just like sort of tossing it to someone, he like threw it as hard as he could at the back of someone else's head. And that guy was obviously like in a bit of a mood that day, and so he just stood up, just like smacked William in the face. Not funny.
Sorry.
But actually like a little bit funny, because he probably deserved it a bit.
That's so good.
Well,
not that you got hit in the face, but it's so good that you get to just experience these kind of stuff, and like. But I mean,
that was a rare occasion. Like that,
I think that'll be like the one. But you also have a lot of great moments that like happen. But I mean, we could definitely dive into a lot of those. I definitely wanted to meet more of your students at that point. That's the one thing.
Like I say, you met Ara did an internship while you were here. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I think I briefly remember at that point. So I mean, I think the whole point is that like from meeting just everybody that you've got to like teach is just another interesting bit of understanding you at that point. And I think like even me just being here is like, definitely I'm learning from you anyway, so you're still teaching at the end of the day. But so basically you did that for, you said 2 years, and what happened after that then? So you teach for 2 years, and then...
So I taught 2 years and then decided that I didn't see myself like being a teacher for all my career. And so at that point, obviously, then you don't look at other things. And I think probably like my career decisions on what I was doing next were a little bit rushed. But like it's difficult to find the time to find something when you're working full time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I had an old offer from a company called LEK, who they're like a strategy consultancy. And I thought that that's kind of it's like an interesting job. You get to, especially if you're not really sure what you want to do, you get to work on strategy and kind of loads of different industries. So I worked a bit working on kind of like a healthcare company, like a big industrial company, like on a bank. And so you get kind of like learning like a broad sense about business.
What does it actually mean to be a strategy consultant? It's probably what I'm more confused with.
I guess you just like you help answer like the big questions for a company.
Okay.
So you're not involved in the kind of operations or implementation of how they do them, but just like the big questions about kind of how they position themselves, what markets they go into, which bits of the market to attack, like the big big questions that face any company.
That's actually really interesting. Just because, what's the one that people keep on talking? Is it called McKinsey?
Yeah, so McKinsey's like the most well known.
Okay, McKinsey, because I think that's the one that everybody's like considered the highest or the best in business kind of thing. I don't know if it's true, but I guess that's the only thing I can relate to at this moment.
So I work for like one of their competitors.
Okay, that's quite fascinating. So in terms of, I guess, a project, if you're working on one company, how many people does it usually require to, I guess, tackle the strategy part of it in terms of the consulting thing?
So I guess you'd be broken into like teams of like 7 or 8 maybe. It depends on the size.
Right.
Like the scope of the project. You'd have like a couple of junior people, a couple more senior, like a few more senior than that, a manager, and then one of the partners or a couple of the partners maybe.
Oh man, I mean, at the moment I'm absolutely fascinated by this thing.
Like the whole time I was there. Well, I was only there 2 years, so I was kind of inhabited like the bottom 2 rungs of the ladder.
Yeah, but I mean, that's actually interesting when you're saying like between 7 and 8 people, and then you have different levels of seniority in that format. Did everybody have the same like general responsibilities in terms of just being a general strategy consultant, or was it everybody has a different aspect? I'm putting it into an example.
So everyone was kind of generalist, although like the more senior people would do some stuff, and the more junior people would do like more of the. I mean, like it's more of the grunt work basically. So if you really want to understand a market and you've got to conduct 100 interviews with experts of the market, then the person is going to spend all day on the phone asking questions and transcribing interviews. That's going to be the person at the bottom, and the person like reading it and then like drawing all the conclusions will be the guy at the top.
Or like even just putting stuff into sheets and everything, you probably have to like crunch a couple of papers.
If you're at the bottom, you get really good at spreadsheets and really good at building PowerPoint slides, really good at cold calling.
But also you get like direct, numbers.
I guess, yeah. So you learn the spreadsheets, but also like you get exposure to the more senior stuff, which kind of helps you learn.
Yeah, I mean, no matter where you do, even when you're in teaching or even when you're doing this job as well, that you always have exposure to just, I guess, another person's experience, and then just learning from that and seeing how you could do better.
Yeah, no, like all that stuff's really really helpful.
Yeah. Did you find a way, I guess, in that time of making stuff more efficient? Was it like a thought behind your mind whenever you're doing all these like grunt work? I was saying that you always try to make something more efficient or something that you could automate or.
Not when I was there. I guess like I would have like written a few scripts to automate stuff, but that was like. Well, I guess like not uncommon for other people like at my level. They're all like pretty switched on, and some of them were technical as well. So they if they didn't want to do like a long manual task, then they just write a script that would do it.
Yeah, it does make sense. Because I mean, like I guess nowadays people would be relying a lot more on technology back then compared to.
I think the job's changed a lot since I was doing it. Like it's a lot more kind of big data, a lot more quantitative. Rather than just you need the soft stuff as well. Yeah,
for sure. The thing I'm personally interested in is in terms of software or tools that you use. What was it like? Was it just mostly just sheets or pen and paper or the actual logistics behind that?
I'm 35 years old. It wasn't just pen and paper.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with pen and paper.
I'm not like 85. It was. But yeah, it was like mainly spreadsheets. We did have the internet back then. Don't worry.
Just making sure. I mean,
it was mainly like internet research.
But I mean, you wouldn't have the luxury of having like shared Google Doc sheets and like shared Google Docs, like actual Word sheets and everything.
No, so you had none of that. So you'd have a spreadsheet which or like a PDF, like a PowerPoint that you'd like email around, and it would get to like version 87 underscore final underscore final underscore client version underscore. Like, it was, yeah.
Yeah, all that in a single folder as well, like no subfolders or anything, just on a single folder where everything is in.
Yeah, all a bit of a mess, that bit.
Oh, that's actually pretty good, because I mean, you get to learn what not to do at some point. So not only do you learn like other experience, but you also learn what not to do. One thing that I do want to point out is that you are an avid coder. You love programming, you love writing code and everything. At what point in this whole story so far did that come in?
Well, so I like, as part of my undergrad, I took lots of the computational courses.
Okay.
So I picked up stuff there. I mean, it was like C++ and like MATLAB and stuff like that, rather than being kind of working like building kind of web apps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sort of picked that up fairly easily. Like won like a national software prize for my undergrad project.
Oh, that's sick.
Which is pretty cool.
Do you mind diving a bit on what the project was, just in general context, in terms of what was your task, what was the objective, and?
It was a project that modelled how fashions propagate through populations. So and like it took lots of the maths from thermodynamics, because it turns out the maths is really basically like how heat propagates through a solid is really similar to how, when you abstract the maths, like it's very similar to how fashions propagate through populations.
Right.
So the thing that we modelled was we basically did it on shoes.
Okay.
So taking different groups of people, like what the distribution of shoes would be, and like how, like if you looked at 100 people and 30 people had the most popular sort of shoe, what would the distribution be for the other sorts of shoes, and how you could kind of start to predict it through kind of like, if you even looked at 5 people, how could you then predict what the rest would look like?
Yeah.
And we found, so basically one of the conclusions is that the 2 groups we picked were physicists, because it was easy to get hold of them, and models as well, because we wanted something just a bit different.
Well, all right.
Turns out that, so basically they had like all of them wore exactly the same shoe.
No way.
Like exactly the same shoe, and physicists obviously don't look at each other, and so all would try completely random, like weird shoes.
To be fair.
But like it got published in an archaeology journal, because turns out it was really useful for like predicting fashion amongst like ancient pottery based on like findings from excavation digs.
If you do have a link to it, give it to me. I'll link it. That's something that I definitely want to check out, because I mean, it's one of the original work you've done back then. And I think, how many people was on the team, or was it just you?
There were 2 of us working on it.
And then in terms of like stack, I guess, how did that go? This was a tech bit. No.
It was MATLAB.
It was just all MATLAB.
It was just MATLAB.
Well, believe it or not, a couple years later, people are still doing MATLAB in uni.
I know, yeah.
As far as I know, like that's something. It's good that you have that kind of skill. So when you're saying like that whole bit of coding experience and really getting yourself into a project that I guess you were enjoying at that point, it really helped learning programming, and then how to manipulate software and all that. So you did that during your undergrad at that point. Did it keep on going throughout all the different roles you've had since then, or?
So then, like during, once you know how to code,
it's like riding a bicycle, is it?
Yeah, and you learn it to use it in different contexts. So like when I was teaching, I wrote something which I used to do like, and in fact, like after I left, it got used by like all the teachers to kind of help with exam preparation. So what it would do, you'd basically get everyone to sit like a mock GCSE or A level, whatever it is. You'd input all their data into this spreadsheet and then hit a button, and then what it would do, it would basically create pairings that you could use on different kind of rounds in like sort of 15-minute sessions within your lesson where it take people of similar ability, but where one person had got one question wrong, the other got it right, and then vice versa. And then you could sit them together, and the one who got one question right would help the other, and the one who got the other question the other way around would like help that person. And then you'd get up and like move the pairings, and so I remember writing that program. That was quite cool.
I mean, not only were you doing this out of interest of like just how it works to begin with, but also the end result was there.
The end result was actually quite quick. It got used in my last year. It got used in an Ofsted inspection, not taught by me, but taught by one of my colleagues, a guy called Mark. And his lesson got an outstanding. But that was because he was quite a good teacher.
That's what happens. Not to do
the program.
That kind of helped a little bit. I mean, that's what happens when you toss an engineer in that kind of setting. Yeah, so that was actually really cool in terms of like when you're doing your teaching role and everything. You had loads of time to, I guess, write your scripts, benefit loads of people from writing it. Was that kind of similar in terms of the market, the strategy consultant job? Sorry, where you had a bit of freedom to write what you want, or?
Actually, I'll tell you what. I think that being a teacher prepares you like a lot more for starting your own company. Like specifically because it gives you so much more freedom than a job like strategy consulting. Like strategy consulting, you go in and your boss will give you a set list of a thing to do that day. Whereas when you're a teacher, you get given 6 classes at the beginning of the year, and then you're just told like get these kids some grades.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
And you're just you're more or less kind of left to it, like complete freedom. So I mean, I think teaching's got more freedom than pretty much any job, and it's like a great way to prepare for starting your own company and having no boss day to day.
I think we could definitely talk about that because I mean, like with that mixture of background, you have the teaching role you had, and then you have the strategy. It kind of covers like the aspect of creativity and the technical aspect to it, which is very important. You want to have a balance of both of that. So we could definitely talk about, you co-founded HireSpace in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, with co-founder Ed.
That's true. So Ed and I had been friends for ages before we'd known each other since we were teenagers. Not quite sure exactly how we knew each other, but just sort of from various like house parties during being in sixth form, got to know each other, and then 10 years later, we were sat in the pub just sort of talking after a midweek Arsenal Champions League game.
Boo!
Back when Arsenal were ever in the Champions League. And we were just like talking about business idea, and decided to do it.
That is crazy. Still going strong after so many years as well. And obviously, I'm so glad to be part of the project and just
doing stronger than Arsenal.
Yeah, exactly. Oof, shots fired there. That's actually a really cool thing because when you're talking about like, you can't exactly remember how you met Ed or how you come across people like that. A lot of people nowadays, when we go out to parties and everything, anybody that we meet could be kind of in the same scenario, if you know what I mean. If you click really well with somebody, next thing you know, you're into a venture and you can just build the next big idea out there. So now one thing I do notice is that like, how do you ever choose how many founders you want for a project? This is more like a general topic, I guess. Do you ever choose? Do you ever think about it, or?
I know that people put like a lot of thought into it, and I think it's really important that you've got the right mix of skills. Like you don't want. There's no point having 2 people who are exactly the same or can do exactly the same thing. And so I've got friends who've started companies and they've gone on a big search for like to find a co-founder. And, it needs to be someone who can do the stuff that they're not as good at. I think me and Ed complement each other quite well.
I can definitely agree with that.
We both got kind of our different things that we're different things we're good at, and I mean that's why it's I think worked pretty well from the start. Yeah,
I think one of the things that I could definitely find as a example, I guess, is a lot of the strategies that come out of like a lot of the meetings that. You could definitely see the aspect of how you approach it and all the analysis behind it as well, and like everyone just complements into that. I'm just only putting this up because I do know people that, well, I mean, more of my circle is more tech people, and they're always in a position where if they ever want to found a venture or something, they don't know exactly what partner they're looking for. So if you're coming from somebody with a software background and you're going into it, I guess what would you be aiming for if you want to find a co-founder? Because like on Hacker News, you have some posts that be like looking for a co-founder for this. Are there specific qualities of that complements really well for software engineers, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, first of all, if you are technical and you've got an idea, like you're kind of in the driving seat. There's so many more people who have an idea, but then just need to find someone technical to actually build it. So, I mean, first of all, you should sort of count yourself lucky. But then in terms of like who would go well as a co-founder, I think you can learn a lot by looking at the intake of the top accelerators. So if you look at someone. If you look at someone like Entrepreneur First or something like that, that they'll take people with like deep tech experience, and then people with a kind of broad range of commercial experience. So
right,
I guess you're kind of looking at so like strategy consultant, which I used to do, would be like a really good thing for co-founders to have done. If they've been for for a couple of years at or ideally a lot longer at one of the kind of top strategy consulting firms, then they're likely to minimize the chances that you're gonna spend loads of time building something that then just doesn't get the like commercial traction.
Yeah, the traction, exactly. I think that's a really good point, because I think from just my experience and even just seeing really close people of mine, just having the product ready, but then the question after that is like, how do you market it? What is sales at the end of the day? And then you don't really ask yourself these questions when you're building the product.
Yeah, it's it is really tricky. Like it's impossible to find a co-founder who's going to be an expert in growth marketing, and an expert in sales, an expert in branding, and an expert in like building HR systems, and an expert in like go-to-market strategy. You're just not going to find it. So someone who's got that kind of general business experience, and I think strategy is like one of the places that you can find it.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you could definitely ask those questions to really just define how somebody approaches the problem, which is, I guess, a lot of interviews nowadays, just to see how somebody approaches the problem as opposed to having one specific set of skills at the end of the day.
But also, I think what's really important is that it's someone that you get on with and that you want to work with. If you're going to be building a company together, you're going to be spending a lot of time together. Yeah, you're going to be spending more time with them than with your family, with your friends. It's going to be intense.
No, yeah.
So it needs to be someone that
you click
with,
and then
and you think that isn't going to drive you mad.
That's the thing. But you shouldn't be afraid to be able to disagree with them as well. Because
that's really healthy.
Yeah, if everything goes too smoothly, I think there's something going on. But I mean, it's always
like if you're not challenging each other and like disagreeing on stuff, then kind of what's the point?
Yeah, that's a really good thing to think about. One of the things I do notice actually is that one of the great skills you do have is you're able to delegate tasks in between, I guess, your busy schedule, but also getting stuff done and making sure that everything goes smoothly in the best scenario possible. So I think what I'm personally interested in is how do you delegate tasks? Because, for example, if I'm a developer, I want to build my stuff, I want to market it myself, I want to do all of that. At what point do you start realizing that these tasks could be shared between people, and even finding the first person to help you do that after?
I mean, it happens. A lot of it happens through necessity when you're starting your own company, because when it starts out, there's no one to delegate to, and so you end up, I guess, like more just kind of having to prioritize. But like when you start, you're working like crazy hours just to, because the stuff that just has to happen.
That's true. Yeah.
From like, even doing like from customer service tickets when it's kind of when it's just you, all the way to dealing with investors, it all kind of falls on you. And then I think as you grow, you just you realize that like you obviously when you've got the resources, you can't do everything on your own. And so it's about like building a team where basically everyone in the team can do the things better than you can.
Yeah,
and that's really important, because like all the stuff, the entire space that I do, like it always goes to someone who can do it better than if I'd done it myself. And that's quite important.
That's the thing. It took me really a long time to think about this stuff. Is that like the world is so big, it's kind of weird to look at it, but the world is so big is that you can't be an expert at every single thing.
That's impossible.
On. And what makes you a great person that's able to see who's good at what kind of thing? That really just is another responsibility that you have at the end of the day, is being able to pinpoint who's good at this, who's able to do that. And that kind of directly answers the question of how do you delegate stuff, is being able to pick up on somebody's doing this really well, efficiently, saving time on that, and then you can just go on with it. So.
I think the most important thing is having a good team around you, because then you just then you want to do it, and then stuff then stuff works.
Yeah, and for the people who as in, I'm pretty sure everybody knows that you code already, but nowadays you still try to find good opportunities, like get your hands dirty in there and still write a lot of code actually.
I mean, like it's more like kind of interest, but I do like doing the occasional new look. Well, to be honest, I mean, I find that the times I do it now is when I'm doing a non-technical task, and I just know that I can do it 100 times quicker just by writing some code that will do it.
Yeah, and I think after all the examples you've given, like even just before even co-founding the project, like it does reflect your kind of personality of just making life easier and really just being able to share it after. Because I feel like a lot of the methods you've used, I've definitely like got inspired by them. So I'm definitely using some of the stuff you wrote at the end of the day. So that is actually really cool. Another great thing was that this whole project, Hyperspace, is a project that is based in London. And London is an absolute scene for all the tech startups and tech companies that really want to dive into it. So yeah. I think, so from my point of view, as somebody who's been living here for a couple of years now, is that there's loads of meetups going on. And I get to go to them, get to talk to all kind of different engineers, different project managers, different founders as well. Do you get to do those quite often so nowadays, on top of all the...
I still do them loads. And I think like it's really, really, really important to kind of like to stay in touch and to kind of meet up with people who are doing a similar thing to you. Like, if you've started a company, because otherwise, like it can be quite like an isolated role, because there's no one else in the company doing doing what you're doing, and being able to kind of meet up and kind of to share experiences. Like good and bad with other people doing the same thing is kind of really important. So like I always take the time to make that happen.
Yeah, I think even from my point of view, not as a founder, like is exactly what I usually seek out for when I go to these kind of meetups, is that you could always learn something from anybody you talk to. And I guess, was there a major difference from the first time you started going to these meetings to nowadays kind of thing? Do you have like two different objectives that you kind of...
Well, I guess when I go now, it's more just like catching up with old friends,
right?
Whereas before, I guess it was kind of like meeting new people and kind of like learning from their experience.
Yeah.
But then still, like when I've got a problem, I know that I've always got people that I can go to help solve it.
That's actually a really good point that I do want to mention, is that when you join a company, is that most of the time you'll have somebody there as a mentor. So when you were doing your teacher role, there was somebody there that was being a mentor to you, and then when you started kind of, so we were talking about the more senior roles. When you co-found a project, that's slightly different.
That is different because there's no one. But I guess when you've got a co-founder, you've always got someone that you can bounce stuff off, and someone who can give you feedback if there's something that you can improve on. So you do always have that. But you're right, when both of you are starting and both of you have got zero experience running a company, which is more often than not the case.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then like it's just really important to kind of get yourself out there and try and like there's probably someone or a friend of a friend or a friend of a friend of a friend who's doing the same thing. So just like trying to kind of build out that group.
That's good. I think in terms of like a general term, if somebody is not as fortunate and more in a position where they don't have this big of an outreach, so what would be, I guess, a general step to take in that case? So I guess one of the examples is go to meetings. You'll be able to find some mentorship. But are there any other like ways, I guess, that you could find somebody who's more expert than you at a field and really just help you with the project at the end? Or
so I mean, like it is really, really important. It's and you're right that it's not everyone's not everyone's lucky enough to have like friend of a friend of a friend. So I think the best ways to do it are, so going to meetups, but also if you can, just like basing yourself at a co-working space. And there's places where you can go just to kind of work for the day, and you just kind of buy coffee, where like you'll end up just meeting people, and like the people that you meet there will be doing cool things and will be working on their own projects. So I think that's kind of the best way to do it, and to have it kind of happen organically. That like there are there are different kind of different accelerator programs that you can apply for, and if you get onto one of those, then that's a whole whole group of new friends that you can that are going through the same thing and you can hang out with. But again, it's difficult to get onto a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess it's just more of a random question. Has a lot of people come to you directly for like the logistics bit of founding a company in terms of like details and like applying for a license? Has people come to you in terms of like, oh, how does that work? Or
I get people asking me, just like tips and tricks when they're setting up their own company.
Yeah, because I think it's always a scary dive at that point.
Yes, it is a scary dive when you kind of wake up the first day and you realize that you don't have a proper job anymore. It's a bit of a bit of a shock to the system.
But I'm pretty sure I did mention this at some other point where it's like the environment you thrive the most is really just these kind of scenarios where you're able to like assess all the skills that you have and being able to apply to a task, and then that task kind of grows and grows and grows, and as we're saying, the responsibility kind of changes. Then you realize that you're in a position to be able to be like delegate stuff, and that kind of like the evolution of how it goes. So I think just another point is that just balancing all of it. So we mentioned before that on top of everything that you do nowadays, you are very active. Even coming up, actually, you're going to be participating in a charity boxing match. And the commitment is well over half a year now, well over.
Yeah, but I mean, training about more than 6 months now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, in terms of just general advice for the people out there, how do you balance with all these kind of interests, but also keeping the project going?
Well, I guess it's not really it's not a compromise. I mean, if you're starting your own company and trying to do something that's quite difficult and you're not doing really regular exercise, then I mean, like basically you're just going to go mad.
Yeah.
Like pretty much. I mean, like doing something active. It's not like you need to balance that against time you might spend doing other stuff. Like I think like you need to look after yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing that when you said it's not a compromise, like honestly, in my mind it just clicked. I was like, that is technically true. It's weird that there's a feeling nowadays that everybody is like always concentrated on. You have a job, you got to do that kind of thing, and everything on top of that is
if you're not doing regular exercise, then I mean, I guess like some people can do it for a short amount of time, but then I think like eventually you end up kind of burning out. You just won't be able to concentrate. You won't have the energy.
Yeah. And when you're saying health and work balance, and there's loads of services out there nowadays that are definitely out there to really address these problems as well.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. And then, so I did mention the charity boxing. Do you want to just give us a brief overview of what was the context? Like, what are you going to do? And then...
So I guess context was, I mean, it just got put out in a WhatsApp group of like other founders. Does anyone want to do a charity boxing match? And, a few of us signed up. I think 16 of us to start with. There's now only 8 of us left. So we had people, drop out.
Well, you actually stopped fighting before the actual day, by the way.
It was different. Like people moved away from London. Guy got divorced. One guy got ill. One guy broke his nose. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think like a lot of stuff happened. But anyway, there's 8 of us now are going to be fighting at York Hall on 15th of November. And so some guy's gonna smash my face in.
Yeah, but to be fair though, this is all going to a charity for a very, very good cause at the end of the day. So on top of the entertainment that we're going to get, we do know that it's going to go to a contribution that everybody will be happy with.
Yeah, on top of seeing me get absolutely pasted all over the campus, you're gonna get to support support really good cause too.
That's good, because I mean it's always important to see how much involvement you could give back to community. Even Hardspace themselves, like just working with different partners, just giving back to the community.
We worked with Beam last over the winter. And that was great. Yes, set up by a guy called Alex, who I know, who's developed a platform where you can sort of give directly to homeless people in order to fund employment training, which is it's so nice. You can kind of see them hit a funding goal and see it go towards something that's going to change their life.
That's 100% true. I got the chance to participate into it, and then you get these regular updates of when people do achieve a certain goal or milestone. You get an update on how they're doing, and it's a contribution that comes from everybody. Like
like Beam is such a great idea and platform.
Yeah,
I kind of look at it sometimes and think just like, wow, he's doing something really meaningful, and I like obviously love the events industry, like it's fantastic, but is it solving homelessness?
That is a big task.
Yeah. So yeah, I like it. It's a really cool company.
I'm definitely going to link the information below, obviously, because it's something that we do want to talk about. I'm just going to wrap things up now. It's been going way too fast. So I guess probably the thing most people are interested in is, how do you make the jump? How do you make the jump from working full time and then becoming ownership of a project, whether you be sharing it with somebody or even yourself? What's the tipping point? What's the advice you got for the people in that position nowadays?
I think like for me, it came when we managed to sort of raise our first funding. You need to make sure that you've got something to jump to. And like the reality is that people just have to hustle and work really hard. Ed and I, you'd kind of come home from work and then, work until 2 a.m, kind of making the kind of the origins of HireSpace work. So you just need to hustle, and then once you kind of got something that you feel comfortable on, or some people are fortunate enough to be able to not work for a bit, and if that's you, then great. But I think the important thing is to make sure you've got something that you can actually jump to.
Yeah.
Otherwise it gets pretty scary.
Yeah, but also even having the heart and the fighting spirit, as you mentioned, to keep on going. That's definitely something that I've seen from you and Ed, and I really do think that really spilled on me. So where can people follow you? Do you have anything that you want people to check out? Hirespace.com, obviously. But
obviously check out hirespace.com. I'm not personally huge on social, but if people can follow me on LinkedIn. It's just William Swannell on LinkedIn. So it'd be great for people to follow me on there. Always publishing great content.
Yeah, that's true. That's always great then. Well, Will, the man, the mentor, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, no, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.